Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar. My name is Cooley. I am the Targeted Outreach Director for the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. This webinar is about student loan resources, and we are honored to be joined with Senator Alex Padilla. We're going to get started in 1 minute. I want to make sure I give everyone a chance to log in. I know it's kind of early in the morning, so 1 more minute. Thank you for your patience. We will be starting soon.
Everybody, just give me a second. Just experiencing some technical difficulties here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Senator, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Sorry, after more than 2 years of the pandemic, we still get these technical difficulties periodically. But thank everybody for joining us this morning, and thank you, Koo, for your kind and generous introduction. It's my honor to introduce some of the VIPs and experts that we'll have participating in today's webinar with some timely and wonderful news and information. Begin with Deputy Assistant Secretary Claire Viol from the U.S. Department of Education. We'll hear from my friend Chloe Hewlett from the California DFPI. She's on the commission there, one of our go-to folks. And Selena Damian, the student loan ombudsperson, and Mariana Lopez Ramos, the student loan holder, because we think the perspective of a student handling student loans, like millions of Californians and Americans, is an important perspective to share here today as we're trying to spread the word, because it is indeed a very, very big day. One that has been years in the making. The spirit of this gathering here is to celebrate the launch of President Biden's historic student loan relief program, which will provide critical relief to tens of millions of working class and middle class families. And it's just one more example, by the way, of Democrats working to lower costs for families and delivering. As you may have heard in the news, starting last week, federal student loan borrowers who earn less than $125,000 a year or $250,000 a year for married couples could now be eligible for up to $10,000 in federal student loan forgiveness. And if you're a Pell Grant recipient, you could be eligible for up to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. You know, from a big picture perspective, let me just say that means more than 40 million Americans are now eligible for this relief, including more than 3.5 million Californians. So this is huge. And I know that this is just the latest step in the years-long fight to bring down the impact of student debt to relieve, frankly, students and recent graduates of the weight of student loans as you're trying to launch your career. And I know what that feels like because I had student loans once upon a time myself, a pretty significant amount. So, that was the macro perspective, the millions of folks who will be benefiting from this. Now the personal, because I still remember vividly, I was sharing this with a friend the other day, filling out financial aid forms after I was accepted to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology just a few years ago, and facing the brutal reality that tuition alone at MIT was a larger amount than my dad's W-2. So how could you possibly think of being able to afford college, even a dream college like MIT for me? It just required a lot of work study. It required applying to every scholarship under the sun that I could possibly do, and it meant student loans. And as a Pell Grant recipient along the way, I remember, again, what that combination of scholarships and student loans and work study meant for me to be able to get to college, but knowing that upon completion, upon graduation, it was going to be years and years before I could finally pay off those student loans. But it was a worthwhile investment. So I know what the importance of that debt could be, but I also know what a sense of relief we had when paying back those student loans were finally done. And it's life experience like that that has informed a lot of my work in the United States Senate. And And that's why I've been so consistent in fighting for some student debt relief, whether it's through congressional action on the legislative side or encouraging President Biden and the administration to do what they could to help more people not just pursue their American dream, but have a fighting chance at achieving the American dream. Let's talk dollars and cents here for a second. It's led to Californians owing nearly $142 billion in student debt. This, taking on the loans to be able to pursue a higher education. So $142 billion owed by Californians, with a disproportionate burden on Black and Latino families. Comes as no surprise because of the income inequities in our society. So simply put, this announcement that we're celebrating will have a life-changing effect on those who need relief the most. Consider this: 90% of the federal relief dollars will go to Americans making less than $75,000 a year. That is equity. That's equity. And because almost 71% of Black undergraduate borrowers and 65% of Latino undergraduate borrowers are Pell Grant recipients, this relief will help advance racial equity and lift up communities of color. It will mean 20 million Americans will have their debts completely wiped out because of the balance that they have. And it includes almost half of all Latino student borrowers. So that's a pretty big deal. And a generation of students is now able to start their careers and start building their lives without the weight of student loan debt holding them back. And that's not just a boost for them, but a boost for our entire economy. So it's good for everybody. So here's the bottom line message for today. If you are eligible, folks who are listening or watching today, if you're eligible, I encourage all Californians with outstanding federal student loan debt to apply for this relief. You are eligible. And while you may have heard in the news this last week that there's been a legal challenge to it, we have seen that an appeals court is currently reviewing the challenge to the relief program. But let's be clear, between the courts and us, the application process remains open, and the federal government is still actively receiving and reviewing applications. You've heard it from the court, you heard it from the president, you hear it from the Secretary of Education, and you're hearing it from me. The program is still open, still receiving applications. So if you have student loans, go to studentaid.gov between now and the end of 2023. So, got some time to do it, but the sooner the better. It takes less than 5 minutes to apply. And you don't even need to upload an ID or any documents. It's quick, it's easy, and it's available in both English and Spanish. You can do it on a desktop computer. You can do it on a tablet. You can do it on your mobile phone, your smartphone, many ways to do this. But don't miss out on this relief that you're entitled to, and it's good for you, your family, your community, and all of us. So over 22 million Americans have already applied. And if you're eligible and you haven't, please, please, please apply today. Now, before I turn it back, I want to offer just a few words in Spanish as well. I think we have some Spanish language press participating today. Les quiero dar las gracias a ustedes por unirse con nosotros en esta sesión para aprender más sobre este tema. A partir de la semana pasada, los prestatarios de préstamos estudiantiles federales que ganan menos de 125,000 al año o menos de 250,000 al año para parejas casadas, ahora podrán ser elegibles para recibir hasta $10,000 en condonación de préstamos estudiantiles federales. Y si usted es beneficiario de una beca Pell, es la importante condonación de la deuda se duplica hasta $20,000. Eso significa que más de 40 millones de estadounidenses ahora son elegibles para recibir esta ayuda, incluyendo más de 3 millones y medio aquí en California. Yo sé qué tan importante es esta asistencia porque me acuerdo muy claramente mi experiencia cuando recibí esa carta que me aceptaron en la universidad y poco después empezando a aplicar por asistencia financiera para poder pagar los costos de asistir a la universidad. Cada beca que podía encontrar dispuesto para trabajar durante mis 4 años como estudiante en la universidad, pero también las aplicaciones para los préstamos y los costos de la universidad en comparación de lo que ganaban mis padres, uno pensaría que era imposible, pero con la asistencia financiera, inclusive los préstamos disponibles para estudiantes, es la manera en que se realizan estos sueños de poder asistir a la universidad, graduarse y vivir el sueño americano. Y es esta experiencia y muchas más que informan mi trabajo en el Senado. Por eso, desde que llegué al Senado, he luchado por este tipo de apoyo para estudiantes y jóvenes recién graduados de la universidad, patrocinando acción en el Congreso, pero también pidiendo que la administración y el presidente Biden hagan todo lo posible para asistir a estos jóvenes y a sus familias. Y por fin estamos celebrando el anuncio de este programa. Es fácil para participar. Si son elegibles, visiten la página web studentaid.gov. Empezando hoy. Aunque hay tiempo para poder aplicar, háganlo lo más pronto posible. Toma menos de 5 minutos y ni necesita su identificación ni entregar ningún documento para aplicar. Es disponible en español también y lo pueden hacer en su computadora, por su tableta, por su teléfono celular. Así de fácil es y es importante que lo hagan hoy mismo. Muchísimas gracias por participar. And Ku, back to you.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. A lot of great remarks there. I do want to give the DFPI's commissioner a chance to provide some welcome message to Commissioner Chloe Hewitt, who is the commissioner for the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chloe Hewlett, and I'm Commissioner of the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. It is my honor to lead a team of extraordinary public servants working to protect consumers and strengthen our state's financial industry. I especially want to thank Senator Alex Padilla for joining with us today and for always being on the front lines to help spread the word about the ways Californians with student loans can get the relief they need and deserve. As a longtime advocate for students, consumers, and communities of color, I believe that higher education can set you free and break the cycle of poverty. This initiative is very personal to me. This campaign is a powerful way that the DFPI, along with partners like Senator Padilla, can ensure that student loan borrowers have a fighting chance to get their dreams back on track and to be all they can be. I believe that college affordability is a social justice issue, and I'm proud of the work the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation is doing to help California borrowers. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to participate in a more in-depth discussion, we also invite you to join us for our Applying for Student Debt Relief webinar at noon today. You can find information and additional resources at our Back on Track webpage at dfpi.ca.gov/backontrack. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ku to get us started with today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. One more open remarks. We do have we're honored to have Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Office of Legislation and Affairs of the Department of Education, Claire Vile, on. Claire?
Great, thank you, Ku. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this event today. My name's Claire Vile. I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Office of Legislation and Congressional Affairs at the Department of Education, handling higher education. It's a rather long title. I'd like to thank Senator Padilla for hosting this important event to spread the word to millions of Californians to apply for debt relief. And I'd like to thank his staff for organizing such a wonderful event. As a native Californian myself, I grew up in the Bay Area. It is a particular privilege to be with you all today. This administration believes that a post-high school education should be the ticket to the middle class. But for too many, the cost of borrowing for college is a lifelong burden that deprives them of that opportunity. This is why in August, the Biden-Harris administration announced targeted debt relief to eligible borrowers to address the financial harms of the pandemic and to help give breathing room to working and middle-class families as we continue to recover. As you already heard, this relief will have a big impact on low-income and middle-income borrowers. Approximately 40 million people are eligible for this relief, with almost 20 million people eligible to see their debt wiped out completely. Nearly 90% of relief dollars will go to borrowers earning less than $75,000 per year. Since the application went live, we have information for approximately 22 million people. That's 22 million people on their way to getting extra breathing room. I will provide additional details about the application later in the presentation, but I do want to flag it's very simple, and I encourage all eligible borrowers to go to studentaid.gov to apply today. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ku.
Thank you, Claire. And I do have one more welcome. We do have Mariana Lopez, Master of Science in Counseling, who has a Master in Science in Counseling graduate student from Cal State San Bernardino. Mariana?
Thank you, Ku, and everyone. Senator Padilla, thank you. Gracias for the invitation. It's an honor to share my experience with you and everyone on this webinar. My name is Mariana Lopez Ramos. I'm a product of and a resident of the Inland Empire. My husband and I both work and we're first-time parents to a little baby boy. I work for the San Bernardino Community College District and serve as an academic and emotional support system to mixed status families, including first-generation students and undocumented students, by doing direct bilingual outreach at the Mexican consulate inside San Bernardino. Like many of the students and families I serve, I'm the first in my family to have graduated with a bachelor's degree. Coming this May, I'm proud to say that I will be graduating with a dual concentration master's degree in school and professional counseling from Cal State San Bernardino. My passion is to give back like yourselves. My passion is to give back to my community by helping low-income students and families achieve a college education. From my own experience, I know that the Biden-Harris student loan forgiveness will be life transformative to students like me and the students I coach daily. Due to financial constraints, I took out student loans to pursue my graduate degree. In my case, I'm over $60,000 in student debt, despite working 2 to 3 jobs throughout my undergraduate and graduate journeys. I stress about how I will be able to form a family, pay a mortgage, basic living expenses, or save for retirement on top of paying a high student loan monthly bill. Throughout my college experience, I have taken out community volunteer roles and unpaid internships to contribute to my community. All these experiences, they have molded me into the resourceful person I am now. But despite actively being involved in the community and seeking scholarships, I still did not have enough to cover my college necessities. The Biden-Harris loan forgiveness will help me reduce my stress by paying the monthly bill. It'll help me achieve life's milestones that motivated me to seek a college education in the first place, such as owning a home, raising my children with good morals to give back, and most importantly, working in underrepresented communities that I lived in without having to work multiple side jobs. This loan forgiveness will be a place for me to shorten the gap between gender and age gap wages that will allow me to pay the rest of my loan portion. This loan forgiveness is an investment in the next generation of counselors like myself, teachers, firefighters, first responders, and other individuals who want to serve the public. It will also be a forgiveness that I will think back to in the future when it's my turn to support other community members that seek forgiveness like this one. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me and for sharing more information on how other community members can apply to this loan forgiveness program.
Okay, thank you, Mariana. All right, a lot of really great remarks from many fantastic people. We do need to jump right into the content of the webinar. A little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and we will be sharing it later on. Also, the slides will be made available, and as of this presentation, the information here is up to date. With the student loan world, everything continues to change, but as of this moment, this information is the most up to date. Okay. Next, I'd like to introduce the DFPI's student loan ombudsperson, Selena Damian.
Thank you, Ku. Good morning, everyone. My name is Selena Damian, and I am the Student Loan Servicing Ombudsperson at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I am honored to have the opportunity to be here today to share this important information with you. I'd like to start by talking about a very important protection for California borrowers known as the California Student Borrower Bill of Rights. The Student Borrower Bill of Rights was introduced in California as Assembly Bill 376 in 2019 and became effective January 1st, 2021. With more than 4 million Californians owing $156 billion in student loan debt, it was imperative that California created additional protections for Californians with student loans. California is the first state in the nation to establish such legislation and robust set of standards that promote financial security and protect Californians. Prior to the Student Borrower Bill of Rights, Californians with student loans had minimal federal protections, and they were faced with navigating a complex and confusing repayment system and a student loan market plagued with predatory practices. The lack of protections made student loan debt unaffordable and unmanageable for borrowers. This Bill of Rights applies to student loan servicers doing business in California, including state licensed servicers and banks, and it applies to borrowers with both federal and private loans. The Bill of Rights protects student loan borrowers by prohibiting servicers from engaging in abusive, unfair, or deceptive practices. It requires that servicers work in the best interest of borrowers and provide accurate information. This includes information about payment plans and options to avoid default. Additional servicers cannot omit important information and cannot take advantage of borrowers' misunderstanding. Loan servicers must respond to a borrower's qualified written request within 30 business days. This Bill of Rights also establishes special protections for military borrowers, borrowers working in public service, older borrowers, and borrowers with disabilities. One more thing it did is it established the ombudsperson position, my position, to work with borrowers directly to help them understand their rights and their options. Now I'd like to hand it back to Claire to talk about the Biden-Harris administration student debt relief.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to briefly go over the application and eligibility requirements for debt relief. So first, I'm going to go over eligibility. You're eligible if you have federal student loans, including direct loans and other loans held by the U.S. Department of Education, and your income for 2020 or 2021 is either less than $125,000 for individuals and less than $250,000 for households. If you're a dependent student, your eligibility is based on your parental income. If you meet these requirements, you are eligible for up to $20,000 in debt relief if you received a Pell Grant in college, and up to $10,000 in debt relief if you didn't receive a Pell Grant. In order to figure out what type of loan you have, you should log into studentaid.gov and select My Aid in the drop-down menu. The My Aid section will show you the servicer or servicers for your loans, and the loan breakdown will show you the list of loans you've received. If you received a Pell Grant, that will also be displayed under My Aid. For more details about this, please visit our website at studentaid.gov. And now I'm going to go through the application. So the application takes less than 5 minutes to fill out. You don't need to log in with an ID. You don't need to upload any documents. It's available on your phone and on your desktop computer, and it's available in English and Spanish. Federal student aid will reach out directly to borrowers once they've submitted their application if they need to provide additional information. And you have until December 2023 to apply, but we do encourage you to apply when you can. The last thing I want to note is that borrowers should also know that the best source of information about the application will come directly from the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid. You're going to hear about this later in the presentation, but you might be contacted by a company saying they will help you get a loan discharge, forgiveness, cancellation, or debt relief for a fee. You never have to pay for help with your federal student aid. Make sure you work only with the U.S. Department of Education and our loan servicers, and never reveal your personal information or account password to anyone. Our email communications to borrowers come from a .gov email address or an email address ending in public.govdelivery.com. Thank you so much for having me today. That's about it on the application. As I said, it's really easy. The administration is providing this one-time debt relief to borrowers as they start to repay their loans, to give borrowers the breathing room they need to be able to invest in buying homes or starting new businesses. And I'm going to end on this for eligible borrowers. Go to studentaid.gov and apply today if you haven't already. Thank you so much, and I'm going to hand it back to Selena.
Thank you, Claire. Now I just would like to briefly remind everyone about PSLF, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which was a program created in 2007 to encourage individuals to enter and remain in public service. This is a completely separate program than the Biden relief, which Claire just talked about. Under PSLF, you have to have the right type of loan, right type of repayment plan, right type of employment, and make 120 qualifying payments to have your student loan debt forgiven after the 120 payments. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, in 2007, there was a 99% denial rate, and the Department of Education announced the PSLF waiver, which expires on October 31st of this year, next Monday. For a limited time, borrowers may receive credit for past periods of repayment on loans that would not otherwise not qualify for PSLF, and most of the PSLF qualifying payment rules have been suspended through October 31st. That means that any prior payments made while working for a qualifying employer will count as a qualifying payment. And under the waiver, the Department of Education will also be conducting a massive adjustment of borrowers' accounts and will be reviewing all previously denied applications. Borrowers should apply even if they were denied before, and the deadline to apply for the waiver is October 31st. The program will continue, but please log on to studentaid.gov/PSLF to get more information on PSLF or the waiver. Thank you.
Thank you, Selena. Okay, and as of something that we've seen happening, something that we've seen happen a lot right now, which is a growing trend, is the growing trend of student loan scams. Scammers are contacting borrowers by phone, email, and mail. Some of them are posing as officials using logos and whatnot. Here are some tips to protect yourself. First of all, as Claire said, there is nothing that that a company can do for you that you can't do on your own for free. A lot of the information is already free and available out there on studentaid.gov. Of course, you want to always never give out your login information and also personal information to anyone who ever contacts you. And if you do feel like you've been scammed, or you feel like you're being harassed with, by scammers, you could always go to the DFPI, the California DFPI's website, where you could submit a complaint. It's dfpi.ca.gov/file-a-complaint. So go there. Again, if you feel like you've been scammed or you've accidentally given out your information, again, you want to be extremely aware of this. I've been contacted by scammers posing as officials who are trying to get my personal information, and you want to try to protect yourself. Okay, last minute things. So additional borrower resources. These slides will be made available to everyone. We share these slides, these links to everyone who emails us, contacts us. The DFPI has built a web page which houses a lot of different resources. We have a list of upcoming webinars and events. We also have a list of government agencies, nonprofits, and also legal aid groups that provide assistance to student borrowers. It is dfpi.ca.gov /back on track. You want to go there, get the latest information. Also, we have a YouTube channel where we publish all of our webinars on student loan issues. And then these are all a bunch of extra links that we share for student loan borrowers. Kind of a really great launching point to getting things done. And finally, Selena Damian, the DFPI student loan OBUDS person, here is her email where you may contact her if you have issues or need help or have questions. Finally, some last minute reminders. Again, student loan repayments will start back up in January. So you want to make sure to get your information updated. Also, if your loans are in default, you want to be aware of the Fresh Start program. I know they're going to be launching that sometime next year, but it's going to be something that can help you. Also, subscribe to the DFPI's newsletter. We keep you updated with consumer alerts, news, as well as updates on student loan issues that are happening and upcoming webinars and events. And finally, as the commissioner has said, we have another webinar happening. It is a 1-hour webinar where we will walk you through the student debt application. The student loan debt application. You can register. It is at noon. And with that, I'd like to hand it back to Senator Padilla, who has some closing questions, I believe.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to everybody for a great presentation, great substance, obviously very timely. So I hope folks participating were taking good notes, a lot of great resources here. Just a couple of quick questions sort of in closing that I want for emphasis, if nothing else. Not for anybody in particular, but somebody from the DFPI team. Should students continue to apply to the Biden-Harris administration debt relief program? We heard about the lawsuits. Does that mean it's, we should stop, or should they continue to apply, and why? Anybody want to field that one?
Yeah, I'll take that. Great question, Senator. Regardless of any pending litigation, borrowers should still apply, and Department of Education is still accepting applications.
Great. As I mentioned earlier, you heard it from the Secretary of Education, you've heard it from the President, you're hearing it from me, you've heard it from the court. So that will continue. Other question is putting myself in the shoes of a student like Mariana. So let's say I do apply, submit the information, it takes less than 5 minutes. How quickly should I expect to hear from the Department of Education regarding my application?
Another great question. Immediately after a borrower applies, they will receive a confirmation email with more information. But if the Department of Education requires more information, they will follow up with the borrower. And then once the forgiveness, the cancellation is approved, then they will receive another confirmation email. Again, it will be from a studentaid.gov email, and they will not be requesting any additional information except for a borrower to log on. But there will be communication immediately after the application is submitted.
That's great to know, because government isn't always the quickest to respond, but in this case, it is. Thank you again to everybody who participated. Thank you, all of you, for tuning in. Hope we've been responsive to all the questions that came into the Q&A box. One of them was, will this video from this webinar be made available? We will be posting it to social media a little bit later today, so you can rewatch it, share it, please. Help spread the word, because help like this doesn't come around as often as it should. But for all the student loan borrowers who are eligible across the country, and especially here in California, we hope you find this information helpful, that you go online and apply ASAP and bring that relief to your family and your community. And if there's nothing further, Ku, thank you again for facilitating today. Thank you to all the speakers. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.